Yeah,
Oh,
I just won't be my usual self, if it's gonna go on Rumble. That's all.
If you
yes.
don't like to be recorded, then honestly, just keep your mouth shut.
I,
There you
Just
I
make
go.
object
sense.
to
If
everything.
you don't want to be
I'm
recorded,
known
then
as the
honestly,
objector.
don't say anything, and then you
Now,
won't be recorded.
Everything's objection. Most things I say I object to. I yield.
now, use a family trust for an example. You can be the grantor of a family trust. You can even appoint yourself as trustee. You can also be a beneficiary, but you cannot be the sole trustee and sole beneficiary. You have to have more than one of the other. Okay? Now, the way I recommend it is this way. You're
All
in
right, then.
California, you create a trust. Go also create an LLC. You go and register your LLC in New Mexico. You can get a registered agent service in New Mexico for $35. Okay? And it'll cost you more depending on what services you want. If you just only want registered agent, you can get it as cheap as $35. The reason why I say New Mexico is you've got 4 states that give asset protection per se when it comes to corporations. You've got Delaware, you've got Nevada, you've got Wyoming, and you've got New Mexico. If you got the money and you want to spend it, do it in Delaware. Okay, Delaware is the crown jewel of corporate protection for filings, but their fees are more expensive. New Mexico, they do not have an annual filing fee or requirement. They actually have a requirement to file your updated information for the LLC every 2 years, and there is no fee. But the law in New Mexico says they will not disclose without a subpoena. They have to get a subpoena who the owners and members are of the LLC. The LLC can be appointed as the trustee of the trust. Then you do your doing business as DBA as the LLC. Now you are the agent of the LLC, and this is why you need to know the law of agency. So the LLC is now the trustee. The LLC signs all the papers as the trustee. The trustee does a DBA doing business as the trustee for blah, blah trust. And you can do that. That LLC and its board of directors or its members or its owners makes all the decisions in the name of the LLC. That right there is one of the ways to get into the private. What's up, Jesse?
What's up, Pastor?
But now, can you do this as a sole proprietor?
Yeah, you can do a sole proprietor and put the sole prop as a trustee, but the problem is with a sole prop, they view that as you. You don't want them to view anything as you. You see what I'm saying?
So you do an unincorporated LLC.
No, an LLC requires a business license.
Right, but out
What
here in
what
right,
is
I'm
what
sorry.
isn't
I'm
well,
sorry.
you're thinking of California. You don't record the LLC in California. You record it in New Mexico where it's cheap. All you have to record any LLC is a registered agent. In other words, the office address for the service of process. So guess what? You can record the LLC in New Mexico, make it the trustee of the trust that's in California. and there ain't a darn thing the government can do about it. It's all legal.
Right, but I'm a little bit on the nomadic side. I ain't got no. I don't have a physical address. I live in a schoolie. I go from point A to point B. And for me to get, honestly, a bank account, or let's say a business bank account, let's say I just want to be a TikTok person, and I'm going to go ahead and put on my advertising on TikTok. I'm looking for, honestly, a business account. The Patriot Act won't allow me to get a business account simply for the fact that I ain't got no home address. So I'm trying to be simple. I'm trying to just.
You can get around that if you listen to what I'm saying. A business, you will have an address. Who's the registered agent? That is the address. There is also this thing called mailing services. One of the registered agents in New Mexico actually offers other services. Like they offer a mailing service where you have their address as the home address for the business for all your mail to go to.
So what you're saying is, even though, so I guess honestly, what you're saying is to, I guess, register everything through New Mexico.
Yeah.
Take everything out of California.
You don't even have to live in New Mexico. That's what the registered agent's for. That's why I tell people, go read the books on the law of agency.
Yeah, American Express.
For Christ's sakes, pass it away. I swear to God, you're the man.
Yeah, American Express's trust is registered, and their service agent is in Delaware. But he's saying New Mexico because it's cheaper.
What is the purpose of having the registered agency, the registered address and the agent in a different location where one is at?
Because different states have different laws. You're trying to be in the private, right?
Yes, ideally. Eventually it's where we're working to get to.
Okay, then the best way to get in the private is what? Be in the private. How do you do that? You put gatekeepers up. The registered agent, if you're going to sue McDonald's, some of y'all remember the case where the lady sued for hot coffee, right? When she filed the lawsuit on McDonald's, could she walk that lawsuit down to the local McDonald's and say, hey, McDonald's, you're being sued? No, she couldn't. If she did, it would have been improper service. The case would have got dismissed. She had to serve the papers on the registered agent. And then the sole duty of the registered agent is to do what? Send all notices, all demands, and all processes to the principal's last known address. Then that means what? When the registered agent says, hey, we got a notice, demand, or process, it's on the way to you, he is to forward it to your home address. The state don't know your home address is attached. But if you do your registered agent service in, say, North Carolina or California, oh yeah, the government's going to know who owns that LLC. The government's going to know who the parties are to it. They're going to know that you are the member of it. New Mexico says, we don't disclose that information.
Thank you. That was a great explanation. That made it much more clear. I appreciate that.
Trust me, my next class, and I'm thinking it's going to be Tuesday, I'm going to be going over this in a lot on the law of agency.
Where will your next class be?
I'm thinking Tuesday.
On your Telegram, where will it be at?
Zoom.
Where?
On Zoom. It'll be a
Oh, I thought
private
you were.
class.
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying soon. Soon.
Pastor, the
Okay.
way
I'm
Lulu
deaf.
was trying to tell me
It'll
what's going
I'm
on
deaf.
and whatnot, and we're like thinking, oh, this has
yeah.
got to be some diabolical
Okay.
thing.
Thank you.
It'll be a private class, and I will announce it in my channel, and in here, and in Dawn's channel, and in the sandwich group.
Okay. Is
Okay,
your channel Pastor of the Way? I
No.
haven't found it yet. I was looking today, just an hour ago.
No, it is not.
How do I find?
You can go to fearlessfloyd.com and find on the team page, find my information. It's got the link tree there. That'll get you to my TikTok, get you to my groups, get you to my YouTube, my Rumble, my soon to come website, all of that stuff. Or send me a private message. I'll send you the link tree that way so you can get to all the groups.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I will do.
So, Pastor, if one was to set up a LLC and use the registered agent the way that you're speaking of, how could one also still work in the work in the public, but still remain private
Contract your services.
with a different name or different calling?
No. When you go to get a job, okay, what are you doing? You're contracting your services. Every one of these companies has the ability to do a 1099. Tell them, look, I'll run under a 1099. I agree to your hourly rate. I'll handle my own taxes. I'll handle everything. Just put me down as a subcontractor at this rate.
What about a foundation? Can you create a foundation instead of an LLC?
A foundation is, look, everybody tends to think because they're listening to all these other people that don't know what they're talking.
It's not. It has nothing to do with
Iona,
listening to other people.
Iona, hold on.
It's something else.
Iona, hold on. Don't cut me off. I'm not meaning no offense to you, Iona, when I say this, because you're not the only person that's asked me this. So what I'm doing is clarifying.
Based on a reason, though.
I know it's based on a reason, so just sit back and listen. Okay? Everybody throws out, I've had multiple people come to me, what about a foundation? Like a foundation is different than a trust. It is not. A foundation is just a fancy term for a charitable trust. Look at the Clinton Foundation. It's a trust.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, why wouldn't you make your estate, right, the trustee, not the LLC? Like,
the LLC is for protection and privacy.
How is that more private than another trust owning it or another foundation owning it? Being the trustee,
trust
not
is
owning
not
it.
private. The trust is public.
Everything, the living one is, but if you made another trust,
no.
Okay.
What business the trust does is in the private because you don't disclose the trust indenture. But the trust is in the public. It is your public utility, your public transmitting utility. All legal fictions are in the public, period. Go to the sec.gov. Look for the section that says Edgar search. Go look up the company Amazon. Go find their 424B4 prospectus and then do a keyword search. On that prospectus, do a keyword search for trustees, beneficiaries.
Yeah,
agents.
I looked up some trust in there. Yeah, I get it.
And guess what?
I'm just throwing out ideas.
But it's a trust. That is Amazon's public facing trust. Then when you go to your Secretary of State's website and you look up Amazon, it's the licensed business. They're not the same entity, even though they have what appears to be the same name. Okay. The trust owns all the property. The business leases the property from the trust. Does it tell you in the trust anywhere who owns it? No. The only reason we know Bezos was the CEO is because he's in the public. He's the public face. We don't know who the beneficiaries of that trust are. We don't know who the trustees are. You see what I'm saying? The trust is public. There's a lot of people out there teaching that if you do the secured party creditor process, or you do this and you do that, oh, you'll be in the private. Bull crap. They don't know
No,
how
I'm
this
just
works.
thinking. I'm just thinking for like my thought process of learning. I'm just thinking out different ideas, right? So I understand that you can make the LLC the trustee or one of the trustees, okay?
Yeah.
But why you just said, well, a foundation doesn't going to work because the foundation is a trust. But wait a second, what if you decided you want to make another trust, your foundation, the trustee of this indenture?
You don't, because can you do a foundation and make it the trustee? Yes.
You can, but it's not
Yes.
private because it's an
still,
LLC.
yeah. No, a
Because
foundation
it's not
is.
an LLC.
Stop calling it a foundation, call it a charitable trust. So that way you start understanding in your mind it is still a trust. Okay? You can create a charitable trust. You can call it Iona's Foundation. And then you create a business trust where Iona's Foundation is the trustee. You still need registered agent service in another state. The reason for the LLC is the laws plainly state in New Mexico they will not tell who the owners are.
Yeah, I saw someone else who's very successful, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I noticed where their stuff is registered. I noticed other documents that they had publicly put up but then taken down. And yeah, that's exactly where their LLC is registered in New Mexico. So
yeah, John Smith, that's what I know him by. He come on this group a while back. I want to say that video is on Rumble. I'm not going to swear to it. I got to go through my videos and see. And I was talking about this stuff probably 2 months ago. He popped into the group, and it's the only time I've seen him on here, and confirmed everything I said because that's how his stuff is set up. I didn't know about New Mexico at that time. He told me that later. I even asked him,
sure.
why New Mexico?
I don't know who that is, but that's cool.
See, you've got corporations never die. LLCs, S corps, sole props, they never die. They just quit being used if they go out of business, but they don't die. Okay? A trust dies. A trust, the most you can do a trust is for 99 years. Okay? Now, the trustees can periodically amend the indenture to change the rules of the trust as needed, but a charitable trust never dies. A charitable trust, as long as it's got trustees to run it, it never dies.
And these are living people, yes.
Trustees, yeah, the trustees are all living people. The entity, the legal fiction, cannot operate without agents.
So technically speaking, besides the anonymousity of the LLC in New Mexico, a foundation or a charitable trust would do the same, you know, utility of being the trustee.
Yeah, the LLC is the trustee. You're using one legal fiction as the trustee for another legal fiction.
Yeah, I get that, but the foundation could operate that way as well as the trustee, and since it never dies, it would have the same utility as an LLC.
Yes, but I don't think the anonymity is there.
That's exactly what I said.
That's the
Besides
reason why. That's the reason why everybody I see. I used to have a video of a guy on TikTok that he showed how his structure was set up. Everybody has an LLC managing the trust or an S Corp managing the trust always. If you want to be wealthy, do what the wealthy do. Don't go outside of that. Okay? If that's how they're doing it, you should do it the same way. And then you have that main trust that could be, let's say, if you set it up this way, you get an LLC, you get that the LLC is Iona's Management Services, okay? And Iona's Management Services LLC. It becomes the trustee of Iona's Foundation, which is a charitable trust. The trustees have the right to create other trusts and other businesses. So guess what? Iona Management Services LLC as trustee decides we need to create a business trust. The foundation, Iona's charitable trust named Iona's Foundation, creates a business trust, and it is the owner of that trust, and it is the beneficiary of that trust. Now, if it needs to create another LLC to manage that trust, fine, because you can't be the trustee cannot easily be the trustee of every trust.
Okay, but if you do this in accordance with the living trust, you're gonna make the LLC the trustee of the living trust.
Yes.
Okay.
You do. The LLC is the trustee of any trust.
Okay. You could also make the estate the grantor of the living trust.
The grantor is the man or woman.
Okay. Right. You can't do that. Right. Okay. All right.
Can a legal fiction be a grantor? Yes, the state is the grantor of the strawman trust. But to be the grantor, you have to own the property. You don't have an estate set up that owns the property. You have a man or woman that thinks they own the property. So what do? You get rid of the liability by getting rid of the ownership. You become the grantor, you put it into a trust, you get your LLC to be the trustee, you do the DBA as the LLC. Now you can do a security agreement. The LLC is one party to the security agreement, and the straw man is the other party. Because the one problem with the secured party creditor process is you can't do a security agreement between yourself, and that's how the government looks at it.
Yeah, that's why they do the name change.
But you don't have to do a name change. It shouldn't be that complicated. If somebody is putting out a process that appears to be complicated, it's probably flawed in some way, shape, or form.
And Pastor, I just posted your 4-hour what you just are speaking of right now, and I heard everyone talking about it a little bit earlier. But I just posted that
Yeah.
recording in the in the group here,
Now,
so
if you
everyone can
go,
listen. It's very good.
if you go in the description of one of those videos, it might be in that one. Let's see here. Yes,
Yeah,
if
I
you
went
go in
over.
the description, it's got my link tree.
Okay. Yeah, I went over and listened to the delivery receipt and everything, that or how to deliver the receipt. Um, that was very good.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Fearless Floyd
acknowledgement to
actually,
acknowledge it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fearless Floyd actually did that video because
Hmm.
of me. I
Yeah.
KW,
Yeah.
yeah, KW actually brought that to my attention, and I said, "Hold up, that makes freaking sense. It is a negotiable instrument. It is a state
Right.
agency. It holds many titles." And I said, "Holy crap, KW, you done got me on this one." Because when I went and looked at signed, sealed, and delivered, it's a commercial term, and I said, "Crap." Yeah, we never sent them the warehouse receipt the delivery
Hmm.
receipt for warehouse goods,
Yeah, I
which is part
posted
of
that.
handling your commercial affairs.
Exactly. And I posted that in the chat as well. If anybody wants to scroll back up and look at that, it's also in the chat here. And also, I mentioned to him too, possibly like an acknowledgement and acceptance. I acknowledge and accept the receipt. And, he said, make it your own, do the shit however you want to, excuse my language, but that's how he wrote it. That's how he answered me. So,
Look, you
I
are not going to hurt my feelings. I used to deliver groceries in Manhattan, so you're not going to hurt my feelings. You might hear me
okay.
say a four-letter word on occasion.
Yeah, some very good stuff is in the chat that I posted to. Um, yeah, for any further information.
Now the
People went.
reason why I teach what they teach is like Fearless Floyd did that video because of me. Why? I went to my Westlaw account and I made this discovery talking to Eon. Me and Eon talk, and we were talking about this stuff, and I went on my Westlaw and I found a template for a delivery receipt for warehouse goods, and I read it. I said, "Holy crap, that makes sense." And I said, "Hey, Floyd, check this out." And I explained it to him. And I said, "Now, check out the template I just sent you." So he made the video based on the template and the information that I showed him. Everything I teach, I get from their documents, their court cases, their books, their forms, their everything. And it's why you will hear me scream and preach and everything. Read their stuff. Quit listening to these teachers that say, "Do my process, don't talk about nothing else." If they're not taking you to the source information they are getting it from, there's a good possibility they got it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Perfect sense.
The
Can I ask you a
government
question?
publishes the rules. If you want to play the game, you got to learn the rules. You're not going to play Monopoly after reading the rules for checkers. Do what, ma'am?
I just wanted to ask you a question. There was a woman last night speaking about setting up a living trust. She was saying that was the first part of her process, and
Yeah.
it was working really well for her. And in the way that she set it up, she was the grantor, beneficiary, and trustee all in one.
You cannot be the sole trustee and sole beneficiary. She's going to run into trouble if she's the sole trustee and sole beneficiary.
Yeah,
If
that's
she
what I
gets
was
drawn
thinking.
in the court, that trust is going to collapse because why? It's called the doctrine of merger.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying
So if
that.
anybody remembers who she is, you need to warn her
Yeah, I will. I'll send her a message.
or have her talk to me, one of the two, because I'll go to the freaking court cases. and I will show her.
Now, if you were setting up a living trust, would you obtain a 98 number for it or no number at all and keep it completely private?
No, you have to have an EIN for banking purposes, because why? How is that trust ever going to get paid?
Yeah, that would make sense. She was saying in this particular trust there were no numbers attached at all. It sounded like it was just to put assets into.
Yeah, but if the asset is currency, how are you going to receive it?
Right, of course. So
That's
I
why I
was
tell
thinking,
people, she don't know what she's talking about. I can see that already.
okay. It seemed like it would make sense if one had other trusts also underneath it where the banking was done, but I'm
Yeah,
not quite sure how to structure that.
but that living trust cannot receive any currency. Can it hold certain assets? Yes, but guess what? What is required when you create a trust? A 1041 filing. Guess what you can't file if you don't have a number?
Yeah, that makes a
See,
lot of sense.
yeah, people are out there just creating things when they don't even know what they're doing.
I've seen other trusts that are set up in people's names. What are your thoughts on that?
We have a trust that's supposedly in our name already. It's called Social Security. It's
Yeah, we
a
know what a mess that is.
trust. It's a trust. Is it you? No. It's a piece of paper.
So would you
Pastor,
ever?
oh, sorry. I just wanted to say I called Social Security yesterday and I recorded the conversation and they told me that it wasn't a trust. And then I said, but then when I said I was the beneficiary, there was no rebuttal. And also the other thing was, what else was really interesting? Yeah, she said it's not a trust, but if the only way for my benefits to increase would be if my father died, but it's not a trust. So,
Now, well, she lied to you because,
I got it recorded.
yeah, an acquaintance that follows me on here named Tim, he took my advice. I've been saying if you ask the right questions to the right people, you'll get the right answers. So he said, he called the Social Security Administration. He said, am I the beneficiary of this account? Oh, yes, you are. Can you send me that in writing? No, we can't. You're going to have to go to your local office. So he goes to the local office, walks in there, sits down with them and says, am I the beneficiary of this account? Oh, yes, you are. Can you please give me that in writing? Oh, no, we can't. Why do you need it? He said, for my records. That's all. You're going to have to talk to a manager. They don't want to give it to them in writing because why? The minute you got it in writing, now you've got evidence and it changes the rules.
Well, I have it in recording, and that's still evidence.
It can be used as evidence, but if you didn't do the recording right, it's not considered self-authenticating.
Yeah, you're supposed to have permission to use it in court, right?
No, it
Oh,
depends on the state.
yeah,
You
it
need
depends on the
permission for
state.
Depends on the state. North Carolina is a one-party
Oh,
state. The federal is one party. So since you're talking to Social Security Administration, it's federal. It's one party. You're the party. But to get it self-authenticating, you got to make sure, one, they identify the agency they are working for and their name and their badge number and everything when you have the discussion. Then you got to get that transcript done by a transcriptionist to use in court. Then you can say it's evidence. Now, Jesse, you was going to say something?
Oh no, you already said it. That it depends on each state. Some are some you need both party consent. Some you need one party consent.
Even in two-party consent states, you can record the phone calls and not tell them, but you cannot bring it out in the public. You cannot use it as evidence or you will be charged. So you need to make sure you know your state. But when you're dealing with a federal agency, it don't matter. It's a one-party consent when it comes to the federal. I would rather have it in writing because why? The government, the courts can't see anything but what is in writing. Oh, they can hear your testimony. Really? Try to appeal the case without a transcript.
Mhm. Boris went down to Vital Records, right? And then he sent him over to the county assessor, I think. Yeah, I was
Yes.
wondering if there's any news on that.
I need to ask Boris. I've been meaning to, and I keep forgetting. But when he did do that, they called him a sovereign citizen. We don't assess the value of birth certificates. So he went back to the legal counsel for Vital Records and said he was going to get him to put it on his letterhead. That way, and that's what I suggested also, is you've got to get them to put it in writing on their letterhead. That's going to get you past that little person up front that don't know nothing to the manager that knows something.
Yeah, and that makes sense. This is exciting. Thank you.
You want to find out the value of the bond? Have the county assessor put the value to it. Then you're not guessing. Then you have paperwork. Then you have evidence.
Yes, amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Golden nuggets all the way.
See, you got this. Iona probably knows who I'm talking about, Roger Sales. You got these people that push this whole thing about filing
I only
affidavits.
found out about him because my friend was all about his way of doing the national passport. So
Yeah.
that's so I've never listened to anything but one audio to hear his suggestions.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I bring him up because some of the people are in Dawn's group that hear my stuff. I don't know Roger Sales. He's probably a great guy.
I don't
But
either.
his process, like I told him, is probably flawed because why? Look at David Strait, for example. Look at these people out there that says, put this affidavit of whatever into the court. It'll fix your problem. But what do they never address? You put a bunch of claims on paper with no supporting evidence to back up the claim. All you got is a worthless piece of paper that is making nothing but mere allegations. So when you file an affidavit that says, I am not a U.S. citizen, see Exhibit A. What do I have as Exhibit A? The response from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Office that says, hey, we have no records.
I did that recently. It just came in.
And you got the same result, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I asked for any wet ink signature. I asked for any contract. My citizen status, citizen
Yes.
statusship,
Yeah.
and nothing came back.
Well, guess what? To have a contract doesn't require a wedding signature.
Oh
That's
yeah,
a misteaching, you know.
yeah. I understood that there's oral contract, implied contracts, and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
it was just so I could put it in writing.
Yeah, asking for a wedding signature to me just means I just say that's just a useless argument.
Right, but
because
wouldn't it not be if I would receive a correspondence and they
yeah, the
sign
correspondence
it, like
could be, but
well, I'm just
let me
I guess
go
all
ahead.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
trying to say is this. If I were to receive a correspondence and there is a man or woman that signed the correspondence, it is my duty and obligation to get back up with that man or that woman who is claiming that I owe a debt or I owe money or I need to
That you need to perform, yes.
Exactly. And
But
would it not be outside of the agency? Would it not be outside of everything as far as, trust and living trust and this and that, to get up with that man, to get up with that woman and say, how have I caused you harm? Or how have I caused you some type of fucking pain or financial loss?
No,
Prove it to me.
no.
If
That's
not,
that some of those arguments are valid, but you're misinterpreting contracts. Okay? You've been to
but
a
I don't,
McDonald's?
but honestly, at the end of the day, when the fucking sun goes down, I don't have a contract with a man or a woman that gave me the correspondence saying that I owe money or
That
that I
man,
owe
that
some type of.
you don't know if you have a contract. Okay? One,
But that's exactly, and that's my question to them.
yeah. But let me ask you this: Have you
If
been
they
to a
send me a
McDonald's?
contract and they send me some type of parcel, some type of way to communicate, and they're like, you owe you this, you, and it's like, I understand, you is a banker's information as far as like I'm a customer. So
Yes,
I respond.
but
Yeah,
you're
so I
not.
respond with, according to our records, you.
Okay, now let me explain something. I always like to go to the simplest argument because it'll make people understand. Have you been to a McDonald's lately?
Not for about 4.5 years, but I
Well,
remember
a
it.
Hardee's, a restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, you
I
walked into
asked,
that place.
I asked him for something, and they say, "Is
No,
that
you
your
walked.
order?"
Well,
Yeah,
first you walked in.
I order
Oh,
them something, and then they charge me, and then they give me my product.
hold on. Slow your roll.
Slowing.
You walked in with the intent to do business. Okay, that's step one. You had an intent to do business or contract. Did they give you a contract in writing? No, they have it on the wall. It's called a menu. Now, they fix your food. You look at it, oh, this ain't right. Then what? This ain't right. What do? They take it back and fix it. They don't charge you for that meal they messed up because they did not fulfill the terms. But at the end of when they fix it and you say, okay, that's better, and you eat it, do you ever look at them and say, where's the party that I hurt? Where's the party that I harmed? Who do I owe the money to? You don't. You just pay it because there was an obligation. Okay. The point
Pastor,
is
I
when
have a
you
question.
do what?
Oh, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. So, is that how judges perceive it when you go into the court, as if you're doing business?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything in a court case is a contract. It doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal. I had a guy, he's a retired attorney, considered a top attorney in North Carolina. And I'm friends with him. He's a smart man. I like him. And we had a conversation one day. He said, how good do you think you are at contracts? I said, Mike, everything is a contract. It doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal or any other case. He said, well, I don't agree with that. I said, really, Mike? I said, when you were a defense attorney and you were in court and the judge asked you questions, did you ever once think about saying, Your Honor, would you please define that word? Or did you just presume to know what he meant? And as soon as I put it in that fashion, he got it. He told me, he said, in all my years of law school and practicing law, I never thought of that. You have to have a meeting of the mind. That means you have to know the terms of the contract. But what do we not do? Would you please define that? When you're in court representing yourself and you make some of the arguments you make, the judge says, are you a sovereign citizen? Your Honor, just so I know if we're on the same page here, can you please define what that term sovereign citizen means? Because based on my knowledge, the only sovereign citizen in this room, Your Honor, is you. You have judicial immunity. You're an agent of the. You're a citizen of the state and the sovereign in this courtroom. Watch his head flip out. I had a friend of mine
Right.
that did that. The judge left the room.
Right, because honestly, for Christ's sakes,
So it's like an implied
as
contract.
far as the
You're
judge
going
is
in there to
concerned,
do business. That's what their presumption is.
well,
Well,
of
the
course,
first,
of course, honestly, you're there to do business because honestly, they're at the court. They've got between 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. to conduct business. They got business hours right there on the door. I mean,
not
I
only
guess I'm just
that, but look at what they're doing on the backside. They're operating in securities.
well,
They're a
not only
private
that,
bank. But here,
exactly. I understand. I understand what the bench is. The bench is the bank. I understand what the
yeah,
barrister is, and I understand what the British Accredited Registry is. I got it.
no, that's where you're wrong. The British Accreditation Registry is false. You will not find a single credible source that says that. You will only find that in patriot mythology. I have went through my Westlaw account trying to find what the bar stands for. You are not going to find that. We need to stop spreading lies.
All right, then I'm not
It's
going
So,
to spread
not
that lie.
British Credit
How about this?
Registry.
I'm not going to spread this lie.
Yeah. The bar is only because you got the seats at the back of the courtroom. Okay, that's where the public sits. That's the public square.
I
When
understand
you
that, and they
get
call
up,
it right, and they call it
yeah,
the gallery.
yeah, they call it the gallery. Now, what do you go through to get to the court? You go through the
The bar.
bar.
Wow, right. I
Well,
was
That's why they
wondering that.
call it the bar. When you actually look up the British Accreditation Registry, there is actually a website. You don't find anything about attorneys.
Look at the old saloon doors.
right, because you're looking
Going
for a
to the bar.
license.
Oh
Oh,
my
for
gosh.
Christ's sake.
Do what, Stephen?
Because the barrister, you become a barrister, and then
Well,
then
even
you then,
yeah,
then you go to the bench, and then if you look at the word bench, it comes down to the word bank. You're talking to a
yes,
banker.
yeah, I know all that. The point
I,
is,
I don't believe that you don't. And it's not like I'm trying to educate you. I'm
mhm,
just trying to let you know that I understand exactly what you're saying.
yeah, I know, and
And
so
we can also understand that it is Admiralty maritime law. It's not a
now
it's not
look,
it's not a common law.
you're right, but here's where the misteaching, and that is where people, because people never have read the book called The Clerk's Praxis. That's
Well,
what
they may
we
not have.
call it.
Right,
Okay,
and they
now
may
let
not have.
Stephen
They may not.
hold
Uh,
on.
hey, guess
Let me
what? I'm
explain.
slowing my roll. I'm slowing my roll due to respect for you.
Let me explain. The title of the book is something along the lines of the practice and jurisdiction of the courts of admiralty. Okay. I made the discovery probably 2 years ago. You know, a lot of people out there are teaching, well, maritime law, they brought the sea onto the land. No, they didn't. Think of you have three jurisdictions in the Constitution. You've got admiralty, equity, and common law. Now, think of those jurisdictions as three individual pyramids. At the top is the jurisdiction. Okay. So you got admiralty jurisdiction at the top. That tells you the power of that pyramid. On the right hand side, you got maritime law. But if you read the Constitution, there's another phrase called admiralty law. That's on the left side of the pyramid. Now, what I discovered going through Westlaw is that admiralty jurisdiction and maritime law is a subset of the law of nations under the law of commerce. Wait a minute. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, the Commerce Clause. Who
Correct.
has the right to regulate commerce? So you have two types of contracts. You have contracts that are over the sea, which is maritime law, and then you have contracts that are between nations over the land, that is admiralty law. Now here's where it gets tricky. Because the trust is a 14th Amendment citizen, all legal fictions are. When you go fill out the documents in the name of the trust and you check U.S. citizen and you're roaming around the 50 states, you are engaged in commerce.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
So,
Okay, on that note,
yeah,
can I ask you a question?
yeah.
How would you then fill out a driver's application to be able to avoid the road pirates and still be able to
Put
claim?
everything in a trust.
Okay, so obtain the license as it's required, and even checking off that box of U.S.
Once
citizen, but
you,
then put it in a trust.
well, yeah,
But
well, you
I
don't. No, you don't have to check U.S. citizen. A guy that I know, I lost
I
respect
did
for
that.
him because he does not know what he's doing on the Constitution. I run him off a Zoom one night proving that. But Kirk Pendergrass, he renewed his license in Idaho. Okay. And what did he do? When it asked him, was he a U.S. citizen, he checked no. And the very next question said, are you a Idahoan or a citizen of Idaho? He checked yes. Now, are they going to let you do that all the time? I don't know. That was just his example. Okay. But how many of you is familiar with the website called Freedom School? James Ebert's the owner of that website. Okay. And James Ebert, me and him was having a discussion one day, and we were talking about the secured party creditor process and this, that, and the other. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, I wrote the Social Security Administration and asked them, could I privatize the social? They wrote him back and said, yes, you can. So put it in a trust.
What do you mean privatize?
Put it in the trust.
Okay.
You put
So
the
what
birth
type?
certificate and the social into the living estate trust. That living estate trust now manages that property. Now you can sign the driver's license in the name of the trustee.
So who
Okay.
would the trustee be
Oh,
then? Would that have to be the same? And I'm doing this tomorrow. That's why it's really important to me to answer these questions.
What, renewing your license?
Yeah, I have to actually go retake the driver's
right.
test.
The trustee for the LLC is the name on the license, because the trustee for the LLC is what is running anything in the trust. Is that correct?
Yeah, you just gotta have your documents in order.
Do I
Right.
need to?
We all
Because
know that. We're trying to work it out like a puzzle all the time in our head. It's not like these ideas are the only ones that, we hear about. We hear about these ideas all the time. We're just trying to work it out live time.
well, you know how you keep the confusion down? Iona, stay out of a lot of these groups.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I know
so
what
how
you mean,
would you
though.
then?
I know what you mean.
Can we go back to the license just for a second? How
Yes,
how
ma'am.
would you then sign? How would you sign the?
License?
Yeah.
When you go to sign it, you sign in the name of the trustee.
Which is what? How we always sign?
No, the name of the trustee. If you, the person, are the trustee, then you would sign your
Steven,
name,
stop laughing. I
comma.
don't sign anything
Look,
anymore for this very reason.
look, you would sign your name, comma, TTEE, if you're the trustee. But what did I tell you? You put the LLC as the trustee. You are the agent for the LLC. The LLC signs everything as the trustee. So you would put Rosa B. LLC, trustee.
Which
Even
that
if my
would take
license
you
says, like, let's say
liability.
my license. let's say my license says Ann Smith, I would still
It's
sign.
not your name.
Okay.
Who
So I
owns
would
that
have to,
license?
they do. So I would just have to make sure that however I sign the bottom of it, I also make sure that that name. Hold on, can I just finish?
Yeah.
colon,
Go ahead.
colon. Listen,
Yeah.
it's always going to be by colon, always. Okay?
No, by comma.
Okay, well, some people think by colon. And then,
Yeah, some people think. Go look at proper grammar.
I looked at some trust documents, so that are
Trust
for large.
documents are not always proper grammar. If you want to if you want to know about proper grammar, go get the Governmental Styles Manual from 2016 and read that.
Yes, 215 fucking pages.
That's not many.
Oh, it's not.
No, but if you want to know how to manage a trust, everybody's asking questions about trust. And guess what? 2 books they never read. The Art of Passing the Bucks, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Okay.
Exactly.
All
So
your questions would be answered. They are in this group. They are in other groups. They're in PDF format. And Iona, you are the worst. You come and ask these same questions over and over, but I bet you've never read those books.
I can completely concur to that right there.
No, we read Art of Passing the Buck. We're on it right now. I'm on like chapter 15 or something.
Then you're actually reading it. Yes. Okay.
Well, I mean, what do you mean I keep asking the same questions? That wasn't me asking the question. I was talking about by what. You just picking on me because you don't like my colon.
I'm picking on you, Iona.
Honestly, Pastor of the Week.
Now, Stephen, I am picking on Iona because she comes into my group and asks these questions different ways. And I'm like,
correct.
Iona,
she's
come
asking
on.
me, honestly, she asked me privately how she can be her own estate, her own way of speaking
picking
upon
on her is not at all productive, guys. Seriously.
I'm not meaning as an insult. I love Iona.
We all love Iona.
I love Iona. She's great, but I'm a little stern with her because I care about her. If she doesn't do things right, she will get in trouble.
Right, but Pastor of the Way, you ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
Pastor of the Way, I've got a little bit of a verbal uppercut to you.
What?
And that is this. I understand. And I really like the compliments and this and that. It's like I understand, but I understand and I stand upon which and so on and so forth. But honestly, at the end of the day, if you have to explain what you're saying to a common man or a common woman,
they're not ready.
Same. Right, but I don't believe, and this is my statement, I don't believe that the people that you are addressing to, I don't believe like what you have to write down and give it to them. I don't believe that the people that you're giving the information to even understand what you're fucking saying.
A lot of times they don't. You're not lying. I sit here all the time and I give people the source information, where to go read it.
And I'm telling you, and exactly. And this is where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm trying to come from is you're trying to tell people around you that this is the way to do it. This is the way to speak. And this comes from 1800s or 1700s or 1600s, or this is the, QKSA trust or whatnot. I'm telling you this right now, even the people that you are sending the information to, I'm not even talking about your students. I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about Iona. The very people that are going to take your information or take your paperwork, they don't even understand it.
Actually,
and there's it's not like you're going to send them. It's not like you're going to send them your information with like a PowerPoint,
I slightly disagree with
directory,
you
like,
on
here you
that.
go. Fucking watch my video and then you'll understand how to fucking file it.
Okay, can we just stop
May-
swearing and arguing? Can we just
Yeah.
answer one question at a time and just
Yeah.
move forward?
Well, now,
All
Stephen,
I'm
let me
just trying
tell
to
you
say.
this. Let me
All
tell
I'm
you
just
this,
trying.
Stephen.
Yes.
I get what you're espousing, but when it comes to the system, I can tell you this. Let me tell you about my dad. My dad does installation work, and I bring this up all the time. He does like hot water heaters, dishwashers, sinks, stuff like that. He goes into people's homes, people that are well off. Okay. He meets people that are from the system. He first call he ever told me about was a retired banker. His wife was in securities. He knew about the birth certificate. Okay. She did not. He has met a guy that was a secured party creditor. He knew how to handle the IRS. He has run into an estate trooper that taught LEO classes on sovereign citizen movement. That guy told my dad when he left, he said, look, all I'm going to tell you is this. When you go to court, all the judge wants to know is, what do you believe? What did I tell him? I said, Dad, I told you the First Amendment is first for a reason. See, the system understands this. When I did my registration with sam.gov for my trust, guess what? I had to show the officer it was a trust. He said, but it's got your name. I said, no, it's a trust. But that means it's a sole prop. No, it's a trust. I said, if you give me your email, I will send you the documents where it was notarized and signed. So it took us an hour for him to get the documents because of the firewalls. But when he saw it, he said, oh, you're right. I'll fix this right now. You'll have your cage code here in a few minutes. The system does know this stuff when you get it in front of the right people.
I just posted something from a law site that says by : done in contracts. We were talking about a license, so I said by : and then I was going to tell her name. She doesn't even need to put trustee on that signature.
No, if you are a trustee, you want to put the office title. This is court case.
I don't know that I want to be the trustee on a license. Isn't that the part, like, those are the ones who get arrested, the trustees?
If the trustee has a hold harmless agreement in the indenture and the trustee is following the rules of the trust, guess what? No liability.
Okay, so if you were to go take a driver's license test again, or to sign up for your license, how would you do it? What would you bring into the office, and how would you sign it?
I would bring them their documents. What do they want? They want the birth certificate. What is the birth certificate? It's a registered organization. They admit that. Okay. And they want the social. If you have the social, if not, they tell you some other form. Why? What are they wanting to see? They want to see the name of the corporation. And the address and picture is the registered agent. Okay. If you have your documents in order, when you go to sign it with the man or woman at the desk, they're probably going to say you can't sign it that way. That's the reason why you got to have your documents in order. Okay? That way, hey, my documents are right, and lay them on the table. And if you don't...
In order, and would one bring that to the office at the time of signing?
Yes.
Okay, so what documents do you mean have in order?
Well, it depends on how you set everything up. If you're the registered agent and you're operating as the agent, you need to do a letter in the proper format, and you have to set everything up right to where you have your documentation showing you're the registered agent for the name.
I don't know that I want to be the registered agent for the name. Isn't that where all of our problems come from?
No, the problem is you're the registered agent and you're not doing your job.
So, all right, I guess I need to read law of agency because I'm not quite.
The registered agent holds no liability if the registered agent is doing their fiduciary duty
So, who are we supposed to give the,
to the principal,
which is who? The
the
state?
governor of the state that you were born in, and or because the governor represents the grantor, okay, or the trustees that are listed on the Social Security Administration website.
So, if we
What
started
is
to
the notice of principal is notice to agent? I
That's
thought.
right. The reason why you put that is because the agent has a duty to notify the principal.
So we're the agents for the governor? Is that what you're saying?
You're agents for that estate that you think is your name.
Yeah.
It's not your
But
name.
we're also the principal, though. So would I be notifying myself?
You're not the
No.
principal. Did you create it?
I thought. Oh my gosh, I'm confused. Sorry.
No.
How?
Me too.
Listen, hold on. You think that's your name. What is that information based on? Hearsay.
Well, event. Yeah, it is. Yeah, hearsay. I was a.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Then
get that
guess
part.
what? It's based on hearsay. You have no first-hand knowledge of yourself. That's your name. Someone, call them your mother, told you, or some document, you read it. So the first agreement on the contract when you go to court is the name.
Mhm.
And
Couldn't
right
she just sign agent then?
No, well, you can sign an X, but you're not signing
Right.
properly to not be liable. Okay? So
Okay,
you
to
put
Mhm.
by your name. I believe you can do it because she said a lawyer website said do a colon. I say you can do it either way. Your name,
Colon.
comma, registered agent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. The colon just combines the word. It just goes back to yeah.
what if one were to write, I don't know, by all rights reserved or by subject to the terms of the trust? Or
I've
Yeah,
used that
a way
before.
all
to.
of
I've used
that.
that before.
Yeah, using it is fine, but I don't know that it's right. It'll throw a loop in their system, yes. If you're trying to not be liable, Rosa, you got to do things right.
That's why I'm in here. I'm trying to do things right.
Look, KW
Yeah.
has a video
I
on
forget what
you.
that is.
Look, Ken W, you can look it up. It's called Birth Certificate and the Law of Agency. It's on YouTube. Okay. He reads the court case that he got from Kentucky. Now, he was born in Ohio. He didn't realize when he filed the case in Kentucky that that they didn't have jurisdiction over the property. Okay. He asked the court, two of the questions that he asked was, what is my relation? He said, what is it and what is my relation? And he read the court's ruling. They said it was a state agency and he was the agent. And later in that video, he said, here's where service of process is deficient. He said, if there is no letter on file at the Secretary of State's office that you've accepted the office, service of process is deficient. So guess what? They know you're the registered agent, but it's called plausible deniability. They don't know because why? You've never accepted the office.
It's a presumption for now.
Yeah, I made the presumption in a court case recently. They sealed and dismissed the record, and they did it without me even being in court. They did it 12 days before the court date.
What was it you did with the court?
Okay, I called the court and I said, I did my research, got their EIN number. I called up the clerk of court and I said, I need to speak to the court clerk. She says, well, there's 3 of us here. I said, I need to speak to the one that manages the courthouse to make sure everything runs smoothly. She said, that'll be me. I said, okay. I said, I need to verify your EIN for tax reporting purposes because I have a debt instrument here in my possession. Oh, yeah, you got to do that. Now, let me stop there for a second. That debt instrument was a ticket I got in a DOT inspection, but I never used the word ticket. So I said, I read the EIN number, and she says, well, I don't know if that's what it is. You might need to talk to Barbara down at the town hall. I said, well, I'll get her number here in a moment. And I said, my next question is I need to know the penal sum for this instrument. Now, she lied to me, but she said, I don't know what that is or how to get it. And I said, well, here's the instrument number. And she says, are you giving me a ticket number? I said, ma'am, if you believe that's what it is, that's on you. I said, the way I see it, it's an instrument of value or a debt instrument, which means under Title 18 USC 8, it is an obligation of the United States. And then she said, are you the name? And I said, ma'am, that name is owned by the United States. They're the secured party in this matter, and I'm merely the registered agent, and it is my duty to notify the principal of anything that affects its interest. And she says, can you hold a moment? Yeah. She'd come back about a minute or 2 later and says, well, that matter's been sealed and dismissed. I said, can you send that signed order to the address you have on file? She says, oh, no, I can't do that till you verify who you are. So I sent her a demand letter. I said, you'll have the letter out in the mail next week. I sent her a letter rehashing everything that was said in the phone call, including the EIN, the DUNS number, and said they're operating as a private for-profit banking institution. And I said, and the court has 10 days to produce said order. She got my letter. Now, my court date was March 28th. She got my letter on a Thursday on the 24th and must have went, oh, crap, because she printed the order out that day. And she was either back at the post office Thursday or she was at the post office first thing Friday morning because it got to my house on the 28th on Monday. And this was upstate New York, about 2 hours from Canada, all the way to my house down south in North Carolina. She had to have paid express mail. I never filed a stitch of paper in the court. I never done anything. All I did was make a phone call.
And you wanted them to produce the letter that said it was discharged after saying that it was an obligation of the United States?
Yeah, it was sealed and dismissed. And sure enough, Fearless Floyd did a phone call. I mean, he did a show on it where he interviewed me over it because I showed him. He heard the phone call and saw the ticket. We show a redacted copy of the ticket on his channel. It's when you know what office you are operating in, it changes the liability because now you can start executing your office according to the law.
Okay, so what if then one were to assign the driver's license as agent for U.S.?
Why do you have such a problem putting the name and the office?
She doesn't want to hold liability.
But everything she's asking me is, I don't want to put the name on there. That the point is, put the name. What is your office?
Agent.
I don't know. I know you're saying it's agent. I don't want any titles. I just want out of this mess.
I don't have a problem with the titles. The Bible says what? You're to be in the world, but not of it.
Yeah.
To be in the world, you have to operate a certain way.
Okay, here, I think I can settle this too. And yes, your Bible does say that. I've read it. So I'm sure that Pastor of the Ways signature was on his license, so I would not think he would be steering you wrong on
Correct.
this.
Guess what? I got a
He-
logbook.
he-
I have to,
you got it
you know,
taken care of, right?
well, here's one you
Yeah.
don't know. Here's one you don't know. In the trucking industry, you have to keep a logbook. You can only drive so many hours within a certain time, right? So guess what? You know how my logbooks are signed? My full name, comma, TTEE, trustee. When I went through that very DOT inspection where I got that ticket, I can tell you now, my logbook wasn't accurate. There was just a few small things, like there's a line on the logbook where you put what you have on the trailer, or you put your bill of lading number or something like that, so they know what's on the trailer, right? He never said a word about my logbook. He didn't talk about it. He never addressed it. Nothing. I have been signing my logbook as trustee for over 2.5 years. And I have yet, I use the name, comma, trustee. Because when I did the secured party creditor process, I'm the trustee. But that was 2 years ago when I did it. I run my business under that trust. Now that I've learned the things I've learned, when I got the time to change paperwork and do things, that's what I'm going to do. What I'm teaching you is what I'm doing. But as a truck driver, I am not home regularly to do this stuff.
Can I
I'm
ask
on the
another
road.
question?
Yes.
Okay, so just so I get this clear, your LLC can be named the same as well as the trust that it owns.
Yes, but it will have behind the name LLC.
Okay, that would be the difference. All right. Mm-hmm.
So why
Very
not
well.
sign it with a name of another company and then put comma LLC?
Or you could do trust at the end of the name of the trust too.
Go back to the example earlier with Amazon. Amazon, the trust, is registered with the Security and Exchange Commission. It has private shares, which is your units of beneficial interest. Okay? But it also has public shares that are traded on the stock market. That trust is called Amazon. You go to your Secretary of State and look up Amazon, you find the same name, but this one is the licensed business. The names look the same, sound the same, but the entities are not the same.
So, Pastor, can I have a question? Sorry. So pretty much, let's say for a beginner that's just starting, doesn't have a trust, doesn't have anything as of right now. How would I sign a driver's license to protect myself from liability? I think that's where she's coming from. She doesn't want to put her name because she doesn't want to be liable.
Then
you know what I'm trying to say?
Not putting the name, to me, makes no sense. The name and the title goes together.
Yeah, of course. But so she can understand, so Marie can understand is the reason that you have to put.
I cannot repeat it any clearer.
Thank you.
You have to create a business in that name. Do it as a trust, do it as an LLC, something. Personally, do it as a trust, put the social and the birth certificate in the trust, because you can name it Jane Grace Doe, and it will not be an LLC. It'll just be Jane Grace Doe, whatever your actual name is. Now
but
you're
not a sole
getting your
proprietor, right?
documents in order. Okay.
So no
I
sole
thought
proprietor.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So no sole proprietor.
I wouldn't. No. A sole proprietor is looked at as you.
And your trust
Gotcha,
doesn't
gotcha.
have to be okay, so here is where maybe she's confused. Okay. Or maybe she's not. Okay. So like the trust is the LLC. That doesn't have to be the name on the license. The trustee can have a
No,
different
the
name.
trust is
Wait, can I
not the
finish my
LLC.
sentence?
The
Thank
trust is
you.
not the LLC.
Okay, let me finish. Let me get this. Okay, so you have the trustee, who is the LLC. Okay.
Yes.
But the trustee of the LLC would be you, and that's your name, and it doesn't match the LLC. So that is why your name can go on the license. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
When you set up your trust, Jane Grace Doe, okay, it's a trust. Then you have Jane's Foundation LLC, okay. The signature is going to be Jane's Foundation LLC as trustee. The LLC is the trustee. You are doing business as the LLC. You are only an agent of the LLC. If you don't want to sign your name, this is how you have to do it.
You'd be a co-trustee, no?
No. You are the LLC alone is the trustee. You are the agent of the LLC. So when you sign all the documents, you sign it in the name of the LLC or
So
by your name, agent of LLC.
But that wouldn't go on a license. That's like a little
Yes,
bit
it
much.
would.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying
If
to
the
learn.
trustee, if the trust owns the birth certificate and the social and is managing it, why wouldn't you? John Smith did this.
Can you explain how John Smith did what he did, and then maybe I can try to apply?
He did a living estate trust called John Henry Doe. I don't know his birth name. Okay, so the trust is called
his birth.
the trust is John Henry Doe. Then he got a LLC. I didn't ask him what the name of his LLC was. We'll just call it John's Asset Management LLC. The grantor appointed the LLC as the trustee. Then he filled out his DBA doing business as John's Asset Management LLC. Now, he also did a DBA for the LLC, John's Asset Management LLC, doing business as the trustee for John Henry Doe, the North Carolina Trust. Okay, so the parties are identified. Okay, when he signs any government document, he signs it in the name of John's Asset Management LLC.
Okay, then it would make sense to wait to sign a driver's license until one has a LLC set up, and then.
Well, let me ask you this, Rosa. How old are you?
I guess I would say I'm somewhere in the middle age range.
Well, you sound like you're in your 20s. That's why I asked.
Yeah, you sound young.
Yeah, you do sound young. You really do. Not a problem with that, but you do. Some women actually keep that youthful sound and appearance. I mean, you know. What John, me and him was discussing is I said, look, I don't have a problem being a registered agent. Let them settle the debts. I'll sign my name as agent all day long. He said, yeah, I get your point. He said, but here's what you're missing. The registered agent is only a stepping stone for you to learn how to handle your commercial affairs. But nobody's going that has no knowledge of this. I've told hundreds of people so far, go to archive.org, go do a search, Law of Agency, download a free PDF book written by attorneys that are telling you the principles of the Law of Agency, because you got to learn that first. Now, your next step after that is the treaties on trust. Why? Because the trustee is the agent for the beneficiary and the trust. Okay? Agency is in everything. But if you don't learn the basics first, it's like when you go to math class and you're in elementary school. You learn subtraction and addition first, then you move to multiplication and division, and then you go to fractions. You have to learn the foundation first. And if you're not going to read their books and their stuff, you are never going to be successful at this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so exactly. So you can basically take your license, which is in the name that was given on the birth certificate. That's fine and dandy. But when you sign any of it, it's just going to be under whatever the said LLC would be. Sign it
as the trustee.
Right. Or you could sign it just like LLC. You don't have to put the trustee signature, do you?
No, you
Like
have
trustee
to
after?
You have to put behind the trustee's name.
Yeah.
If your trust is called Iona LLC, is your trustee, you have to put Iona LLC, comma, TTEE, or spell out the word trustee.
Maybe I'll sign it. Iona Foundation
Go ahead.
trustee or LLC of somebody else's foundation.
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
got a question, Baxter. So for me, I haven't set up my trust in my LLC. Now on my driver's license, I have my first name, last name, and UCC 1-308. Now I told you before that I've used that the VL Coaxis for the signature, and every time I go into court, I separate myself from that name as the beneficiary administered. So wouldn't that almost be the same, other than not having their paperwork, correct?
It's similar. It can be done, but you can't do it in every state.
Correct. Yeah.
My buddy
paperwork
Kenny,
from you. Yeah.
Yeah, my buddy Kenny did that in Tennessee. He went and got his motorcycle license. Why? He's a truck driver. What did he do? He drove the motorcycle down to the driver's license office. There's a state trooper in there doing paperwork. I'm here to get my motorcycle endorsement. She said, and the state trooper sitting there listening, waiting to write him a ticket. And she said, well, how did you get your motorcycle here? He said, and at that point, the state trooper standing up. She's getting ready to write him a ticket, waiting for him to say the wrong thing. He said, he looked at the lady at the license office and said, I exercised my right to travel to bring it down here. And she turned and looked at Kenny and said, you know this stuff, don't you? He smiled and said, yes, ma'am, I do. And when he signed his name, he signed ARR behind his name, all rights reserved. And she stopped him and said, why are you signing that way? Well, one, look at all my contracts. I signed every spot that way. Plus, it's what my attorney tells me to do. Sign everything that way. Okay, you got legal counsel that directs you to do it. Okay. When I went to do that on mine, that lady didn't care. You cannot do that. We have a memo from the home administration office that says you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But when your paperwork is in order, they can't stop you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's what I'm trying to get. That's what I'm trying to get right now. Get the paperwork in order. I mean, that's what I use right now because that's what I know so far. I'm just starting, so that's what's been working for me.
Yeah, and so
Well,
then you want to have like board members, like Jesse Wayne was just telling me before everyone came in the chat. We were talking about the whole setup of it, and you want to have a couple board members because if like you become incapacitated and like the other trustees do, so like you want to have a couple third party board members to be able to
you
make
don't have,
sure that
you don't have to.
well, it's good safety precaution.
It's not a necessity. It really
Mhm.
isn't. John, look, a lot of what Jesse teaches on trust, he's never read the books on this stuff. I told him one night, I said, "Have you read those books?" He says, "No, not yet." Because remember we had that discussion a
It's in
while
the
back.
art of passing the buck. It's in the art of passing the buck.
It is, yes, it is, but you don't have to.
Yeah, but it's a good idea.
You can't do it. Not starting out.
I already have elected 2 extra board members
Yeah, I would.
along with my
I wouldn't
trustees.
want to put anybody that I don't know as a trustee.
When
No,
you're
I didn't say
starting,
trustee. I
I
didn't
know
say
you
trustee.
didn't. When
Board members.
you are starting out, setting up your business, you're not going to be able to afford to pay someone to do something. So unless you got family members that you were going to give that kind of power to, you don't have to do that, and you don't need to.
Well, no, it's just in case they just come in and say this person's of sound mind or not. It's not a lot of work or effort. It has to be someone who's not a family member that could come in and, unbiasedly say whether the trustee was acting correctly or not in the benefit of the trust.
The indenture will say whether or not he or she is acting correctly, because that's where the rules are at.
Yeah, but if they become incapacitated, like the trustee becomes incapacitated.
That's the reason why in the trust indenture you put the rules on who the successor trustee is, or you give permission to a trust protector or some third party that has the power to appoint a
that's
trustee.
What I meant.
You don't have to do a board of directors.
Well, okay, then I used the wrong word. Then what did you call it? Third party
a trust protector, or that the beneficiary has to go to the court and ask for the court to appoint a new trustee. That's also an option, and the trustee, the courts will appoint a new trustee according to the rules in the indenture. Okay.
Yeah, but if you're the beneficiary and you were incapacitated, you have to think like if you were the beneficiary, right? And you were incapacitated.
Is everybody incapacitated?
If you were playing all the roles.
You're talking about the trustee being incapacitated. And then I said, okay, well, the beneficiary can follow the rules of the indenture and ask the right party to appoint a trustee.
The trustee's the LLC and your beneficiary's you, but they're the same thing.
And the LLC it doesn't die. It'll never become incapacitated. All there has to be is a new person to take over the spot as the president of the LLC.
Yeah, so that would be a protector, right?
No, could be an employee that rose through the ranks.
Oh,
so
that
would be like a vice president, senior assistant,
CEO,
a senior,
something like that.
Yeah, but what if you don't have any of that yet? You need a protector to come in and make sure that someone
all that would be in the indenture.
Yeah, all that would be in the indenture.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Can we not have discussion without it being a debate, or is that just how you dialogue?
That's how I dialogue, because a lot of times, a lot of these questions that you're asking haven't even got here yet. You're getting into deeper things that some people are not even ready for yet. They got to get the basics out of the way first.
Well, we
You
were
don't
having
you
this
don't take
conversation. We were having this conversation, and then you came in, and it was just a couple of us, and we were deeply talking about it. So it was just kind of like on that topic already, and we were already
yeah.
talking about it. And
So
it's
yeah,
something
so
I'm working on tonight or the next couple of days. That's why I'm asking the questions. But I guess I don't matter in the group or something. It's okay. They'll
No,
carry
it's
on.
not that you don't
No,
matter,
it's fine.
Iona.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I get it. There's no room for my needs. I hear you. I'm trying to get this done like tonight or tomorrow.
You haven't even when you finish the books. Now, have you read volume 1 or are you on volume 2?
Almost done with volume 1.
Good. That's what you need. Everybody needs to read that first.
And that's where I'm coming from. But I would have thought that anyways, because if you think about how life works or a good business, you would think that anyways. You would never think anything else unless you've been in reality. It's just
but
the
you've
nature
also,
of how things operate.
But Iona, you got to have a business mind. You can't hire employees to fill roles because what is a board of directors? It's someone that has access to the money that the trust gets. They get a certain amount of compensation. Until you can compensate people, you can't do it. Is anybody going to work for free unless you got family members?
No, I do have family members, but I mixed up the word board of directors with trust protector because he had mentioned that, and that was the last part I was trying to grasp, where he said you have to have some other, ones to step in case something happens, and that's the part I was trying to wrap my head around, and it had nothing to do with all the other parties. And I didn't know if it was called board of directors or protector or what, but I would like to have a couple of them. That way, they could come in and discuss, and if everyone becomes incapacitated, and if you're mainly playing all those roles, and you have your, other, now this whole LLC comes into play, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I see that. And now I'm trying to put all the other pieces together in my head before it's written up. But you're saying he doesn't know how to write a trust. So it's like, well, maybe you're right.
No, I'm saying some of his arguments the other week when I come on, Jesse was telling someone, well, sell the house for $100 to the trust. I said, no, Jesse, that's wrong. You can't do that.
You could gift it, right? Or I don't know.
No, you can't.
Okay.
You're going to end up,
taxes.
Yeah, capital gains. There has to be an equal exchange and it has to be fair market value. And then his excuse was, well, wait a minute. Fearless Floyd sold the car for $50. That's different. That's the car. You can actually on the title put down that the car is a gift to your child and there won't be no property tax for the initial registration. So you can gift the car, but if you try to do that with real estate and the entire assets of the entire family and put it in the trust, you have to do fair market value and equal exchange. So that way there is no capital gains.
The other thing that this book says is you really need to have a real beneficiary. You can't just or it's just going to get destroyed in court, like a living trust. Like if you think that you can use that, like the way it explained basically this idea of this pure living trust, for someone like me, it's ridiculous because you really you need a lot of people to work with you. I don't have a lot of people to work, to work with me. So it's kind of like, and I don't have kids to make as the beneficiary. So like, it's almost like it could be penetrated pretty easily because it's not set up like solid with enough people.
Yeah. If you are by yourself completely and you have no kids, you have no others, you're going to have a problem because why? You're going to end up trying to set up a grantor, trustee, and beneficiary all at the same person, and that will get it collapsed.
I know.
So even if let's say you have kids, and so your oldest child will be the next kin, right? You would
Well,
still have to pay.
you can
You
even
would still pay
skip
taxes
your
on it, right?
kids. No, the taxes. The taxes on a trust are different. Uh, if there is a distribution, then it's only like 15% tax. Okay.
So that would be like the capital gain.
Oh, you're talking about the capital gains. If
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
an equal
the capital gain.
exchange, there is no capital gains. Now, how do you do an equal
Okay, gotcha.
exchange? You go get someone to come in and do an assessment on the property. You have to pay somebody to do it because you want to get a fair market value of the entire estate, which means you're going to have to open your house up, show them the house, the car. They're going to have to look at books. What do you owe on the property, et cetera, et cetera. And then you
Gotcha.
take that and do a bill of sale. And then the trust writes a promissory note that it will pay you at some point in the future. It has to be legally written because a promissory note is a form of payment. Look at a Federal Reserve note. What is it? It's a promissory note. Okay. So that promissory note goes to the grantor, the estate goes to the trust. Now you've got equal exchange because the promissory note is based on the value that what the assessment did.
Gotcha.
Now, the beneficiary, you don't have to have a living beneficiary, but you do have to name who they are. Like my dad, when he set up the family trust, none of us kids are a beneficiary. Guess who is? The
The
grandchildren.
trust or the grandchildren?
Yeah. In other words, the grandchildren, Dad already presumed that one of us was going to have a grandbaby. And you can do that. That's completely legal. Most wealthy people do not go in direct line when it comes to the beneficiary. They do not make their children. They skip a generation. Well, isn't that in the tax code? Generation skipping tax?
Well, and you say it like that, grandchildren. You actually use the word grandchildren.
Yes, or grandson or granddaughter,
Or
whichever. Yeah.
or could you use the word grandheirs? Like heirs of,
No, I
No.
wouldn't. I would use granddaughter, grandson, or grandchildren.
Yeah, I see. That makes more sense. Right.
Because technically, with a trust, it ain't like a will. A will has heirs. A trust has beneficiaries. See the difference?
Yeah, now
So,
where does the will fit in? Does the will go into this living trust? Because, some places call the will actually the same thing as the living trust, right? I thought, or no?
It's not. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason Volume 1 says wills, estates, and trusts. They're three different things. Now, can they intermingle? Possibly, but you need to know how.
My parents just did a last will and testament, and they put it in their trust.
In other words, when they did their last will and testament, they willed all the assets into a trust.
I guess so.
Yeah, you can do that too. When I die, all my assets go into trust. That you can do. But then that trust has to name who the beneficiaries are. And there has to be a trustee appointed.
Yeah, and when the trustee's appointed, you have to accept that.
Yeah, you have to do an acceptance, yes. Any of these titles, it don't matter if it's power of attorney or registered agent. Some states call it a registered agent. Some call it a resident agent. Some states call it a statutory agent. It's all agency. It doesn't matter what they call it. It's still an agent. You have to do an acceptance of the office. Okay. And you have to record that with the Secretary of State, because the Secretary of State manages all legal fictions or corporations or businesses. So anytime you're doing an office, you have to do an acceptance. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Earlier, it's kind of going back a little bit, that Chris Marie was talking about. I have a personal question kind of on it, curiosity, like, okay, that Social Security number is not ours really, right? And the birth
Correct.
certificate's ours really. It just registered an event, recorded an event.
Correct.
So why does the DMV want those, and why would I take them to them?
The reason they want them is they want to know the name of the business.
I thought it was like unlawful to give it away or to give it to them.
It's not unlawful, but you remember back in the day they used to have on the Social Security card that it is not to be used for identification?
Yeah.
Well, I've told people this. I said, you know what's interesting about that is everybody complains about what the government's doing. It's unconstitutional. It's corrupt. It's whatever. But the government told you right there, don't use it for identification. Why? Because it's not yours.
Exactly. So why would I give it to the DMV?
Now, hold on. What did the people do? People volunteered because some John Q. Public corporate officer asked for it. So you volunteered it, and the government said what? Well, we have to do their bidding because we're their servants. So they took it off the Social Security card. It no longer says that. Why? Because the people en masse used it for identification against the warning. So the government says what? Okay, we tried to warn you. You didn't listen. So we will give you what you want. And
mine
then the people
still
turn
says
around and
there.
complain. Yeah, mine don't. And then the people complain because the government gave them what they wanted.
Okay.
I mean, look, God did what? When Israel said, give us a king, God warned them. He said, I wanted to be your king. I wanted to be the one to take care of you. They said, no, give us a king. So he said, what? Okay, these kings are going to enslave your people. They're going to take your women and children. They're going to do blah, blah, blah. And Israel still screamed, give me a king. So God said, okay, I'll give you what you want. Government's the same thing.
I still don't comprehend why I have to give them the birth certificate and Social Security number, though.
Because a man or woman you cannot license a right. Okay? Only corporate fictions have to be licensed. The birth certificate is what?
Corporate fiction.
It's a registered organization. It's an entity. It is a business. Yeah. It has to be licensed.
I couldn't hear you, Pastor.
I said it is a entity, a business. It has to be licensed.
Well, right. The straw man can't drive.
That's right. That means what?
Yeah.
Only the agent can operate for the principal. The principal is the trust. So since it's a business, it's a trust, they need to see the name of the corporation. And then the address you give them is the office for the registered agent.
which would be your home address.
Yeah, that's right.
I think someone's scratching or something, and their mute's open. The unmuted.
No, I didn't hear no scratching. I don't know.
What about the board of trustees at the hospital? Do you know what their role is according to the BC?
Nothing.
Or if any?
They just manage the hospital.
Okay.
Now, what is in relation to the BC was the contract that the mother signed to get the care from the hospital, where she gave assignment to the hospital over the infant. And the infant and the baby are not the same thing.
Right.
The infant was the placenta.
Right. Yeah.
Would that be like the straw man?
Yes, it's.
In a way, it would be the straw man.
No, it is
They
the straw
gave
man.
footprints.
I tend to stay away from the term, even though it's a proper legal term, because they'll never admit it. Okay.
So they gave that placenta footprints.
They gave it footprints, and they gave it a certificate. When the mother signed the contract, if you watch my second to most recent video, we do a in-depth analysis of the language in the contract that the mother signed in Tennessee in this case. Okay, this was out of Tennessee. And she signed away the rights to the infant. And then in turn, what does the hospital do in the contract? Already accused the mother of neglect and abuse. That's the reason why for abandonment and not proper care. Because why? The mother is carrying the infant, but is she eating right? Is she healthy? That's the reason why if you go back into the second video on my Rumble account, I show my birth record. And on my birth record, in the very first sentence on page 3 or 4, it says, this is the firstborn infant of this type O Rh negative mother. It doesn't name the mother of the name. Okay. Because why? The Fifth Amendment. You can't self-incriminate. Okay. So it says the projected date of confinement was 9/24/73. Now, why would there be a confinement? Because the mother abandoned the infant. Because back in the day, to abandon a child was a crime.
Even though it was foundling hospitals.
Yeah, and in the fourth sentence on that same docket, it says, he was found to have a birth weight. Then you go through the foundling codes, and the mother puts on the hat, because she's already signed away the rights to the infant. She puts on the hat of custodian, because the custodian names the child. And the custodian is to take care of the child according to the state's wishes. That's the reason why the state will come in and take their property if they don't agree with what you believe. Everybody thinks the baby is the infant, and that's the reason why the court does what they do, because why? Well, the mother signed documents that she took the baby home, but guess who never got recorded?
The baby.
The baby.
So, if the trust was set for the placenta, and the placenta is proven to be dead, wouldn't
I was just going to ask that.
the trust
Yes.
funds go to the surviving heir?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, we got to figure out how to do that. All right, thank you.
So there's a death certificate for the placenta somewhere?
Not yet.
Isn't that the birth certificate? Is actually the death certificate of
Yeah,
it?
technically, yes, but I haven't found a stitch of documents yet that prove it. Because if you go by operation of law, what happens? First, you're born alive, and then the side effect of life is what? Death. And what happens? There's a ceremony and a death certificate. Well, guess what? Back in the day, the old ways, some cultures left the placenta attached, and the placenta would eventually fall off, right?
Mhm.
And they would do a burial for the placenta. Some
Mhm.
cultures wouldn't leave it attached, they would cut it off, but they still would do a burial. They would do a ceremony. Well, guess what we don't do? We don't take the placenta home, and we don't do the ceremony.
Even if you did, you'd still get the same documents, guys, because people have taken them
Yeah.
home and still got the same documents. So that
Yeah, but why
that
not
is kind
create
It-
one now?
it's no, you do the ceremony to produce the death certificate for the vital records. The reason you won't get the same documents is once you do your private birth record, that is different. They have no jurisdiction over the private birth record. You're identifying who you are.
How do I create the private birth record?
According to vital statistics, they tell you what information to put in there, and you do it as an identification with pictures, measurements, whole 9 yards. I actually did a class on this today.
Oh, darn. I missed it.
Don't worry, I've got to get it put in folders because it'll be there for people to get if they want it. And it's
Okay.
not expensive.
Awesome.
It's not like it's $100 or anything like that. No, I'm not trying to rob and fleece people.
Yeah, I'm
But
only
it's not
making like
something. It's not
$25
something that I'm
a
putting.
week
Yeah,
right now.
It's not something that you put out in the public. Because even though their laws and their rules state all this stuff, they don't want you figuring it out. They don't want the slaves to learn how to be free.
right. So you make your own birth record and death record with the placenta. But if you took the placenta home with your child or your baby, right? And then you would still get the birth certificate, the social security card. You still get all those documents.
Well, yeah,
Nonetheless,
yes, you do still get them because why? The
this is
hospital recorded, yeah,
I'm just
the
trying to
hospital.
go on the argument that it's a dead, the birth certificate is a dead thing. I'm just trying to go on that and go, well, if that's true, then why, the parents that take the placenta home, wouldn't, you're saying the documents still exist on the hospital side. They don't see that, but I'm still
No,
trying to.
hold on. Guess what? John Smith got a letter from the IRS, and you know what it said? We are giving our condolences for the death of your family member, and it gave the straw man's name.
Say,
How did
hey,
he do?
That's
awesome.
How did he
So he
do it?
did it.
I just told you.
I'm so sorry. I'll listen to the recording. I didn't hear. Thank you.
No, Iona asked, how did that happen? I just told you how. You haven't never done the ceremony and burial for the placenta and produced that death certificate to the state.
Yeah, but you can't do it if you don't have the placenta. I'm saying those families
Yes,
that
you can.
We have a ceremony right now for your placenta, and then you can document it.
Yes, you can get if you have a proper pastor that will conduct the ceremony.
Master of the way, you're just the guy.
And I posted in the paper, don't I? For proof.
The death certificate. Yeah, you can.
I post the ceremony. How do I make the death certificate if I don't post the memorial ceremony or something like that?
That's right. I've got to look into that. That's something I'm actually looking into, is to be able to do that for people, because I am an ordained minister. I can do marriages, and I will not do a marriage under a marriage license.
Yeah,
I
because
will
we
only
have
do
birth
marriages.
announcements.
Yep, I'm only going to do marriages if you do a marriage contract, which is private between you and your spouse and God. I'm
You can
looking
actually conduct the
into.
ceremony.
Yeah, actually, I can. Yeah, I am ordained.
Is John Smith somebody we can follow somewhere? Does he put out any of his information?
He stays very private. No, he does not talk to everybody.
That's the name, John Smith. John
Yeah.
Doe.
And there is a couple of John Smiths floating around. I found that out today.
There's a couple in there.
He's very private. The only reason I think he reached out to me on Fearless Floyd's group is because.
Oh wait, he's from Mexico, right?
No.
Okay.
No. The only reason he talked to me is Felicia said, "Hey, you need to talk to this guy." He popped in when I was doing a live one night, heard what I was saying, and he come on and confirmed everything I was saying.
Yeah, we're talking about the same person. I know who that is. I've talked to him. He's cool. Yeah, I just forgot when I was like, I don't know who that is. Now I remember, because I was up there that night. I remember.
Yeah, you was there that night. Yeah.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
He does not talk in groups hardly ever. So all I can tell you is he confirmed everything I said. And KW has done some things. I've seen a lot of what he's done. I think his process is way different, but the principles that are still there. He did create a trust. He created another entity to manage the trust, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The only people, honestly, the people that are actually getting in the private and pretty much stay in the private are the people that are doing the things I'm telling you. They learn the rules to agency. They learn how to operate as the agent first, and then they start learning how to do the other stuff. Because if you are after the account, you need to learn the rules to learn how to handle your own affairs. They are never going to give you that account if you don't. And if they ever do, my personal opinion, you're making a deal with the devil, because you're going to sign non-disclosures, and if you talk about it, you will be found dead in a freezer. A lady had that happen. She got a $7 billion payout, had a party, got drunk. She never really had all this money. Everybody started asking, how did you come into all this money? She started telling everybody. A few days later, they found her dead in her freezer. She violated the non-disclosure. So to me, I could care less about it. I just want to operate in the right capacity, so that way they take care of the debt and settle everything. I don't want that payout. I can't take it with me when I die.
Have you got it set up, Pastor, where your debts are being taken care of by the government or by
I will shortly.
Are you sending the birth certificate to the Treasury? Is that part of the process you're doing?
No. Nope. My name is getting ready to be trademarked, and I'll have a contract with the United States where I'm the absolute trustee over the all caps name, and I'm doing business as that trust, and I'll have my DBA. I will also go to probate court, let the court know that I'm the absolute trustee because I have a contract with the United States, and here's my paperwork. And then what are they going to do?
Is there a name change in that process?
Nope.
Okay.
You don't have to do a name change. Just got to know who you are. You have a Christian or given name, and you have a family name. That name on that card is neither. It's a commercial name. Look at it like Microsoft. I mean, you got
Oh,
Ford.
can you do something for the Christian given name since you're a pastor? Can
You
you
already
make like
have
an
a Christian. You already have a Christian or given name. But what do you want
yeah,
to
but
know?
if you wanted to have a new name, could you do something up like that is ordained a new name under being a pastor?
Not exactly, because it's your right to declare it.
Uh-huh.
And according to the Supreme Court, all you got to do is start using it out in the public on a regular basis,
Oh,
and that becomes legal. If you
okay.
want to do the name change, I don't see the point in doing the name change. I just think that's makes things harder.
Uh-huh.
Just gets more steps. You don't have to. You can. Not saying not to. It's your choice. It's all about doing things in the proper fashion. Go look at a SS5FS form. It's an application for Social Security. Go look at the box 1. It's 3 name lines. The very top line says name to be shown on card. The second line says name if at birth, if other than above. Guess what happens? That line gets left blank. Name to be shown on card, first, middle, last. Well, you don't have a middle name. So the documents ain't filled out right. Even the Social Security admits this in their manual, that you have a given name and a family name, but nobody fills out the documents right. And they don't fill out the second line at name at birth if other than above. So when you look at the name on the Social Security card, you see those 3 names and think they're first, middle, last. They are no different than Ford Motor Company. It's the name of the business. It's one name, one single name.
So
No
how would you
different
fill
than
out that form?
Microsoft.
Is it possible to fill out the form to correct the error?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. How would you then fill it out? Just all
The
caps?
given name, no. The caps don't matter.
Okay.
They can't type anything. The government cannot put anything out but capital. They can't. Okay? So the given name goes on the first name slot, and the family name goes on the last name slot. That's how you fill out the name. You see people that have a dash in their name? That's why. John Dash Henry. That's the Christian given name. The Social Security Administration tells you this in their manual. Your given name is the combination of the two.
So in the name at birth, would you suggest writing first dash middle as the first name and then family? They probably don't let you write family of.
No,
How
they
would
don't let you write family of. You don't have room.
Right. So the name at birth then would just be the first and middle, separated by the hyphen, correct?
Yep, in the first name slot, and you put the family name in the last name slot. And the government does understand those principles, because if you do a FOIA request with the UCIS.gov, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Office, guess what? When you put the name in, it has given name and family name. Jesse, you still there? No, I think he decided to go to bed, because I know it's almost 5 in the morning. So yes.
What are you asking for by FOIA from the UCIS?
Any documents that show I'm a U.S. citizen. I got my response. They said they had none.
Thank
See,
you.
we're guilty of making presumptions that we are something we've never applied for, called a U.S. citizen. And the government will not tell you what to believe.
So how would one operate if they were naturalized?
Operate what?
So how would one move about this whole situation if they were naturalized?
I don't really know a lot about how that changes things, but in my understanding of the system and the world of legal fiction, you're a man or woman with the same rights everybody else has. I mean, America does not have the patent on rights. America tends to think they do, but they don't. Read the Declaration of Independence. It says all men are created equal, given those rights by who? Our Creator. So why does America think they have the rights on what the Creator gave? They don't. So that means if you have those unalienable rights as any other man or woman out there, set your life up the same way. That naturalization certificate isn't you. It is a trust. They even gave you a social security number to prove it's a trust. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank
You know this whole argument over illegal immigration? They say it's a crime for somebody to cross that border illegally. So if you know anything about the U.S. Code, which section of the U.S. Code is the criminal code? Oh, that is called Title 18. I went through all of Title 18. Guess what's not there? There is nothing written stating it's a crime to cross the border. Where is it at? It's in a regulation. That's not a crime. It's a public policy. That's why I say what I say about naturalization. If they would have passed it in Title 18, it would have got overturned because why? They have the same right to travel as anybody else.
Makes sense.
Because the borders are just fictions. It's just measurements of territories that some arbitrary piece of paper called a state owns.
Amen.
Now, don't get me wrong. I respect those authorities because God tells me to. So I do respect that state authority or that federal authority. Just learning who you are in relation to it is what matters. Once you know who you are, they can't tell you any different. You'll be able to stand there no matter what they say and stand your ground. You also got to learn how to talk to these people and do it in honor. They put their pants on the same way you do. They were made by the same Creator. So there ain't no use being afraid of them, but you got to basically learn how to control that fear. I mean, none of us wants to go to jail, but guess what? It's 3 hots and a cot, little vacation, no big deal. But you have to decide what price you're willing to pay for your rights. Some people don't want to go to jail, so they will bow down and waive their rights to keep from going to jail. And I'm not going to fault them for that. I won't. That's each individual's free will choice. So anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I know you said this a million times, but could you quickly go over again the wording? Just because people talk so fast when they know something so well about when you write to vital records, because I have to re-get the birth certificate because they gave me the wrong one. So I'm gonna try to write the way that you had written to get the one that you have with the footprints.
I didn't go to Vital Records. I went to the hospital.
Oh yeah, right. Okay. I already did a medical. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to the hospital and said I needed to get my records from when I was born.
Yeah, no, it was a story of somebody else then that you were talking about that said, they haven't been destroyed, and it
That was
says
Dawn.
that.
That was Dawn over in National USA. She
Yeah.
she called them and they said, "Oh, we destroy them after 20 years." And I said, "Dawn, are you going to accept what they say, or are you going to read the Vital Records codes and see if they have authority to destroy them?" She found out that they did, but it was conditional. They had to write the Department of Health and ask for permission. And then she did a FOIA request and found out they didn't have permission. So now she called them back and said, "Look, y'all never wrote and asked permission. Do I have to have you investigated for losing my vital records?" So right now they're doing everything they can to try to find her records. You got to read their rules. They have to follow those rules. You can back them in a corner when you read their rules. You got some people out there that refuse to read the Constitution, refuse to read the codes. That don't apply to me. Well, you might be right, but it does apply to them, so you better know it. How are you going to hold them accountable if you don't? Any other questions? Or is everybody getting tired and deciding to be quiet? Well, I guess I will end this recording.